Hi, Hydramatic transmission rear servo adjustment part 4. I put an SD card in my phone here, so maybe it'll give me longer. Back to the turning this adjusting nut. The way I'm turning it here is the wrong way to screw it in, so what you have to do is put a screwdriver in here and release the little tang. Yes, there, you can see the little tang coming free of the nut, and I can't do it when on film, so I'll just show that. But I will now, I'll turn that nut down to the bottom and maybe back it off a half a turn so it turns freely. Okay, there's the nut turned down to give the maximum available extension on the nut. I'm now going to use the first adjustment, the first setting technique I came across. There's a tool you use, I think the number is J5071. It's cut out a plate, and the critical dimension is this one, between this face and this face. And it's 5 7/16 according to a marked up photograph I found on the internet. And what that's measuring is you place it over the top of the servo, and it's measuring the difference between this face and the end of the rod. So you could make it easier for yourself if you don't have the tool. You could measure the distance from here to here, from one end of the servo to the other end of the servo housing, and then subtract that from 5/16 and use the low-tech measuring tool, which is a 6-inch ruler, to adjust the adjusting nut on the bottom. It's on the bottom because I've got the tranny upside down, but adjust it to give you the correct distance that you calculate by subtracting your housing length from 5 7/16. I ended up using a big set of calipers I've got, which I have set to 5.4375, which is 5 7/16, and you can see, I think my rod is extended too much. I've got to get that rod to come in about a quarter of an inch or so. So what I've done is I have screwed the adjusting rod in until it's gone tight, which means it's just starting to clamp the band and effectively push the servo rod back in against the spring load. And what you have to do to make it easier to keep turning the adjusting rod back in is simply apply the air. When you apply the air, you completely unload the band, and it allows you to turn that adjusting rod. So I've adjusted the rod in the pin in to get the correct setting. It's pretty close there. I think you can see the 5.4375 inches I have set on the caliper, the dial caliper, lines up with the end of the servo rod. So that's the correct setting using this poor man's J5071. Now I did discover another way, or I've come up with another way of doing this check as a double check. It's not quite as precise as this one, but it confirms that you're in the right ballpark. This is a 1945 tranny. They did change, but I'm not sure what changes were effected over the years, so I guess I should throw in that caution that your results may vary. So the other technique is based on one that's I've seen quite a lot on the internet, where you tighten a band, you raise the idle RPM to 1000 RPM, you tighten a band down with the adjusting nut until you maintain 700 RPM, and then you tighten the adjusting nut a further 2 turns. That's for the rear servo. You can use the same technique on the front servo, and I think it's about 6 turns in. After you manage to get the idle to hold steady at 700 RPM, which is telling you your band is clamped onto the drum and is holding the drum. So let me just set up for this second technique. My logic here is that I can simulate locking up the drum, or just clamping the drum enough to drop the idle RPM from 1000 to 700 by tightening up on this until I feel it. I've backed it off. I applied air pressure to the port and I've backed the adjusting nut right off. The band is now loose. So I tighten in on this adjusting nut, and I can feel it get tight to turn, and I can check for the band being tight by moving here, and I can see it still moves. So I'll snug it up a little bit. That feels like it's pretty tight now. Yep. I'm sorry, I can't move this adjusting nut from side to side, and I can't reach over or move the band. The band is just starting to clamp. It's a very short range that it clamps over. It's not as though it's a mushy range. You can actually feel it quite distinctly clamp up on you. I mean, there's no give in the band. It's wrapped with steel. So now I effectively have my idle speed dropped to 700 RPM with the band holding the drum. So then the next step is simple. You just you go down to the adjusting nut, or the square head on the adjusting nut, and you give it 2 turns. And amazingly enough, if I do that, I get exactly the same setting as the previous technique I just showed, using the tool, or effectively using the tool. So I'll go ahead and turn this nut up, turn the adjusting rod up 2 turns, and I'll go flip back over to the top of the tranny. So I gave the 2 turns to the adjusting nut. I had to apply the air to the port to release the band, so I could turn the nut easily. And now I'm back up on top, and hopefully you can see that the setting on the calipers, which is set to where the special tool specifies, is very close to the end of the pin. In fact, if you look down, if you eyeball down it in a straight line, which I guess I can do by moving the camera, it's exactly at the end of the pin. So I've now got the confidence. I've got 2 techniques that show that I'm pretty close to where this servo should be set. And if I just push the servo over and tighten the locking nut up, you can see I have something like, about 2 threads exposed there. This may explain why this tranny was slipping. I was doing a brake stall test, I would put it in drive, hold the brakes on hard. This is a these came out of it. There's two trannies. They came out of a 1945 Chaffee tank, and I'd put the brakes on and then just give it gas and see where the tranny stalled. In other words, the RPM would rise and then not rise anymore, despite giving it more gas. The good engine we have, it rose to 1400 RPM and stopped there dead. It locked there, and applying more gas didn't make any difference. This engine, the RPM rose to 1700 RPM, and as I held the gas, obviously you don't want to hold the gas on too long. You run the risk of damaging something if it's slipping and generating heat. It increased from 1700 to 2000 RPM, so I knew something was slipping. Well, in fact, yeah, I knew it had to be the bands, because those are the two things that lock up when you're in drive and in first gear. So anyway, I'm hoping this will improve. The band wasn't. Both bands were in good condition, so they haven't been damaged. But I'm hoping this will improve the lockup on this tranny. Thanks.